Go back 10,000 years, and you will find humans toiling away at the many mundane activities required for survival. Hunting, food gathering, making weapons and garments, beginning to experiment with agriculture. But if you land on the right moonlit night or seasonal turning point, you might also find them engaged in what seems, by comparison, to be a gratuitous waste of energy. Dancing in lines or circles, sometimes wearing masks or what appear to be costumes, often waving branches or sticks. We can infer these scenes from prehistoric rock art depicting dancing figures, which has been discovered at sites in Africa, India, Australia, Italy, Turkey, Palestine, Iran, and Egypt, among other places. This is a quote from Dancing with the Streets by Barbara Ehrenreich. In this book, Ehrenreich explores ecstatic ritual and dance throughout human history. Her theory, drawing from a number of anthropologists, is that dance evolved as a means of bringing humans together, to transform us into the ultimately communal species that we are today. Ehrenreich continues, well before people had a written language, and possibly before they took up a settled lifestyle, they danced and understood dancing as an activity important enough to record on stone. Important enough to record on stone. We have lost so much and know so little about our earliest ancestors. We don't know the details of their religions, their relationships, their seasonal practices. But we do know that they loved to boogie.
Though dance means so much for us as people, humans have not cornered the market on dancing. Across our strange and wonderful world, many other creatures, from spiders to weedy sea dragons, look it up, dance with meaning, style, and grace or swagger. Honeybees, our beloved honeybees, are known for their waggle and round dances, which allow them to share information with their community about flowers' locations, distances, and other important resources. Male mud skippers, I have a soft spot for mud skippers, I don't know why, but quote, try to impress females by twirling their tails, arcing their bodies, displaying their dorsal fins, and this is my favorite, snout touching, and they also make aerial leaps. In the bird kingdom, who could forget Snowball? Does anybody here remember Snowball? Yes, I see a couple people nodding. Okay, Snowball was this beautifully feathered white cockatoo who went viral for jamming out to the Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back, all right! And also to Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. If you need a dose of joy, check out this video of Snowball dancing. So scientists studied Snowball, of course, and Snowball had over a dozen distinct moves, which I would wager is more than many of us feel like we have. Distinct moves, including leg lifts, head swoops, and neck rolls, all coordinated to the beat. It is something to behold. Now, dogs may not dance quite like Snowball, but they wag their tails. They wag their tails until their whole bodies are wagging. Fish swim gracefully in these schools. It looks choreographed to see a school of fish swim. We can see birds glide in zephyrs, while prairie grasses and tree branches, well, they move too. They move in response to the currents of air around them. You know, if you look up, we could even say that maybe clouds sashay across the sky.
Last month, I went to Bailar en FDR, a monthly Latin dance party in the FTR Park Boathouse. Has anybody heard of this or been to it? Yeah, I see a few hands. It's a really great party. I would highly recommend. They're doing it once or twice a month, I think, right now. But I was there, and I'm there usually a couple times every summer because I think it's the greatest outdoor event that Philly has in the summertime. And 2 hours into the party, all of us are packed like sardines on the boathouse floor. We're dripping with sweat because it's July. And a stranger asked me to dance. The salsa song that came on was long, funky, snappy, delicious, I would say. And I'd never danced with this person before, but they instinctively pulled me into turns, spins, and breaks. When we missed cues or bumped into each other, which happens every time I dance, no matter how long you've been dancing, still happens. We laughed, we took the opportunity to shimmy solo a little bit. We broke apart, stomped our feet, shook our hips, and tossed our heads, probably looking ridiculous, but with huge grins on our faces. For 4 minutes, I wasn't a person with individual joys or problems, or a tiny part of a society with massive grief and trauma and cruelty. For 4 minutes, I was music and movement, making a raucous, hilarious, sensual conversation happen without words. And then we broke apart. We panted, we hugged. We said, that might have been the best dance I ever had. And then we left to drink water and go on to the next, and I have never seen that person again since. I may, but. I started dancing salsa and Latin styles generally at age 21, kind of by surprise. I thought I was done discovering new things I loved in life, because at age 21, of course, I thought I knew everything. But it was by surprise. I had never considered myself a dancer. But this was something really irresistible for me. It was learning a language with my body. Every time I danced with someone new, the movements took on a new accent and vocabulary. I learned to lead, so in salsa, you have leads and follows, right? And in many types of partner dances, you have leads and follows, and you can learn either part or both parts. Often people stick with one part. I learned to lead before I learned to follow, mostly out of necessity. But I've come to recognize this sort of ambidextrousness as an incredible gift. It lets me queer spaces wherever I go a little bit, and I never have to sit out a dance that I don't want to. It lets me connect with anybody on the dance floor, which has often translated to deep connections off of it, including some folks who are in this room, which is very exciting. What I had to do to fall in love with salsa was the same thing I had to do to have fun in nightclubs, school dances, wedding receptions, and impromptu living room jams. Let go, get over the fear of looking a little stupid, and recognize that the joy of moving with the music is the most important thing. In salsa dancing, with most types of dancing as well, every mistake is an opportunity for transformation.
Several times this summer, people have lovingly, very kindly asked me if I have a dance or a movement practice. And I really like the sound of a dance or a movement practice, but the truthful answer to this question is no. No, I do not. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy movement. As you could see, I enjoy dance. I love yoga, walking, swimming, bike riding. But in my day-to-day life, I don't move or groove in any particularly intentional way. This isn't to say that I haven't had some kind of a dance practice in the past. For nearly a decade, I donned a black leotard and pink tights, lining up with other kiddos in lines, practicing our perfect pirouettes and our grand jetés before floor-to-ceiling mirrors at Tova's ballet studio in my hometown of Cheyenne, Wyoming. As I got older, ballet and gymnastics and tap gave way to moshing and headbanging. And then in my 20s, as I took on responsibilities, related to work and to co-parenting, to, having a 9 to 5 and paying bills and all that, I just largely stopped dancing. So it's somewhat ironic for me that dance has ended up being the source of so many of my most profound spiritual experiences, my most ecstatic spiritual experiences. These experiences were simple, yet potent instances of what it means for me to be joyfully alive, and present inside my body alongside other people and their bodies. And so even when I'm in my own little groove, there's a sense of togetherness and wonder that permeates these experiences. So I'll give you a prime example. On a Saturday evening in early August, after a day of meditation and yoga and play here at church, I see some of my playmates in the audience today or in the congregation. I walked down to the Divine Lorraine Hotel, which is just down the street from where I live here in Philadelphia. Yes. So through church friends, I had heard about this monthly queer-friendly 80s dance party, gets better, with a live DJ and Gen X vibes, like serious Gen X vibes. And that's me, head to toe. So given the fabulousness of this concept and this approaching sermon, and my general love of getting down, I was like, you gotta go. And I will say, I did have that moment. I am such a homebody. I did have that moment when it was like 7:38. I just had something yummy to eat. I was feeling really cozy. The cat's like, don't you just want to hang out here? I was like, maybe I won't go. And then I thought, you gotta go. And I'm so glad I did. So I arrived around 8:45. The night was warm, but not brutal. And there was that ritual that so many of us have had an experience of in some way or another. That ritual of being carded, paying the cover. I will say it's $5 before 9 o'clock, which is nice, so there's incentive to get in there. Yes. You get a wristband and you go in. And then once inside, I was immediately blasted by loud music. And I felt that age-old awkwardness creep over me. That always happens for me when I'm about to step on a dance floor and I'm new to a place, right? So to warm myself up, I gave a little shimmy and a little wiggle on the outskirts, and I was unsure if the music, though excellent, categorically excellent, but I was unsure, if it was gonna, kind of do it for me music-wise. Then I saw a friend, a familiar face, and I gravitated toward them as if they were a life raft. And soon enough, I started dancing among strangers, alongside my friend, and then friends. Fake it till you make it is a common refrain in my family, and I was reminded that as I become willing to dance and to dance hard, to leave it all on the dance floor, to dance for all my people, past, present, future, to dance for everyone I love who isn't with me. Spirit kicks in. It always happens. Spirit kicks in. So I consider the night's many small, magical moments spirit. That's where I see spirit in the evening. The kindness from strangers and the way we take care of one another on a dance floor. You grab somebody a water. You smile, you see somebody who needs to be included and you include them. You check on somebody who just went to the bathroom, make sure they've got everything they need. And then there's the inspiration that we take from one another, where we adopt and adapt someone else's moves. You see somebody's got like a nice little thing going, you're like, well, let me give that a go. And it's just a way of honoring them, honoring their groove, right? And then there's this moment sometimes of like a spontaneous gathering, like a celebration, a pocket celebration, and this larger celebration on the dance floor because somebody is busting out in like a particularly special or amazing way, and you just feel like everybody's turning their attention to them to show them more love. That to me is spirit. That to me is so beautiful, it's miraculous. So here's the deal. I could only put in 2 hours. My knees were hurting. I was like, And we live up like 4 flights of stairs, so I was like, girl, you're gonna pay for this later, but whatever. I felt great. Anyway, so my knees hurt, and also that cat I mentioned, she's got a lot of needs. I see my spouse in the back, and they know this is true. So anyway, my knees hurt, but I knew I needed to get home and feed that cat. She's got an 11 o'clock feeding. But I will tell you, the dance stayed with me as I walked home. After so much fun, after so much ecstasy in my everyday life, I thought, what shallow lives they want us to lead. I'll just say it again. What shallow lives they want us to lead. The people in power don't want us dancing in the streets. The people in power do not want us dancing in the streets. They want us to invest in buying things rather than invest in the joyful power we get by being together in simple, age-old, and loving ways.
I have one more little piece of a history lesson for you, which is that salsa is a fusion genre, if you didn't know. Its ancestors in the 20th century were rumba and son, danzón and bolero, among others. Enslaved people fought to preserve their traditions of music and dance, which meant that the West African and Central African polyrhythms and percussion joined the Spanish guitar in places like Cuba and Puerto Rico to create the music that we know today. Salsa was born from decades of experimentation and rebellion, often denigrated and dismissed along the way. Working class, BIPOC, and immigrant communities developed the modern version of salsa in New York in the 70s, 80s, and beyond as a means of cultural survival and solidarity, and of course, joy. It's an important lesson. Back again in the book, Dancing in the Streets, which if you can't tell by now, I would highly recommend. Barbara Ehrenreich traces the ways that oppressive forces from the Roman Empire to the Catholic Church to the anti-rock and roll pundits of the 60s have seen dancing as threats to their power, and they tried to stamp it out. She writes, "Civilization tends to be hierarchical, with some class or group wielding power over the majority, and hierarchy is antagonistic to the festive and ecstatic tradition. At the height of festivity, by which she means dancing, we step out of our assigned roles and statuses of gender, ethnicity, tribe, and rank, and into a brief utopia defined by egalitarianism, creativity, and mutual love. This is how dance rituals and festivities serve to bind prehistoric human groups, and this is what still beckons us today."
As Unitarian Universalists, we share values: justice, equality, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. We share those values, but at the center is love. We propose to you that dancing, whatever it looks like for you, from the smallest shimmy to the most ecstatic leap to blinking your eyelashes, especially when done together, is one way that we live out those values. It's one way that we create that brief utopia. One way we take care of each other. One way we say, hell no, to the fascist machine. Shall we say it together? Hell no! There's an adage that tells us to dance like nobody's watching. But here's the thing. We were made to move together. Not in just two-person pairs like in salsa, not just in the synchronized movements of a ballet or a marching band. Every one of us moves differently, but we still move together and create something that's both brand new and very, very old.
Hi, I'm Reverend Abby Tennis, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Reverend Alexandre da Silva Soto, and my pronouns are they, them, and theirs.
And we are the ministers of the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, where it is our mission to awaken love and justice in our lives and in the world. We're so glad you watched this video, and we hope that its message connects with your soul.
We also want to invite you to join us for Zoom services Sunday morning at 11 a.m. or come in person at 2125 Chestnut Street, Center City, Philadelphia.
Whether you join in person or online, in these services, you'll hear messages like you just heard. You'll get a chance to sing together, pray together, and even greet one another in coffee hour afterwards, whether you're brand new or a longtime member.
You can always find a Zoom link to our services and more about what to expect on Sunday mornings on our website, philauu.org, philauu.org. The link is below.
If you are connecting with this message and feel moved to give to the mission of this congregation, we invite you to click on the link below again and follow the prompts to give, or send a text message to 215-709-5095, and again, follow the prompts.
If someone in your life needs to hear these words today, please share this video. And again, thank you so much for watching.
We hope to see you soon.
See you soon.